Third part. What are you gonna do, ma'am? Ma'am? The anger lingered on her face for only a moment, but the Countess seemed to detect something in a doorway where nothing could yet be seen, and she gave both Pick and Annette a push on the shoulder. Just then a figure lurched into view. It was a man, nearly 6'8" and completely naked. A pair of vacant eyes were set in his rustic face. Long, thick chains dangled from the fetters he wore on either wrist. The man had wrapped those lengths of chain around his hands time and time again. Dragging along the floor at the end of each chain were roughly 1.5 square chunks of what looked to be stone. His muddied eyes reflected the Countess and Pick. Perhaps his bizarre brain made some sort of decision, because in the blink of an eye his demeanor became colored by madness and murderous intent, and the man pressed forward with broad strides. Countess Genevieve stood in front of him, barring the way. "I will not let you pass." The noblewoman's tone was actually rather soft and sad, and the man halted and gazed at her with wonder. "I remember you. Shank Pomerolo. You were a schoolteacher, were you not? It was we who made you this way, and I wish I could allow you to destroy the train, to kill me, to do whatever you desire. But there are children I must see set free. Though telling you as much will only anger you, I suppose. You wanted to be set free, too. Both he and I have agonized over this for 5,000 years. I'm sorry. It can hardly serve as an atonement, but I must have you go back to sleep again." And as she said that, her lithe form flew through the air like a butterfly. The man swung his left hand. The chain with the block of stone attached whistled as it arced through the air. Impact. The instant it appeared to take place, the Countess's body flowed up as if borne on the wind, going over the man's head, and as she landed on his shoulder, she still looked like a magnificent butterfly. However, as she hauled back to strike with the golden dagger in her right hand, every inch of her was wreathed in an aura of murderous intent. With the monstrous strength of a vampire, it would have been possible not only to pierce the man's heart, but to rip it right out of his chest. However, a split second before the Countess could bring the blade down, a black streak of lightning zipped by her eyes. Bright blood flew. Blood spilled from the throat of Countess Genevieve as she fell flat on her back. The thing that had ripped her throat open braced both feet against a pipe a good 60 feet away, and turned back in her direction. Noble blood dripped from the crimson-stained claws of its left hand, and the mouth below its pronounced snout exposed an alarming set of teeth. Who could have imagined that this was the true nature of the young man calling himself Lycosope? That he was a werewolf? Giving a growl in a voice that was now that of a beast, Lyca twisted his body around and, with miraculous jumping ability, bounded for the man. There was a whistle that left the air churning, and then with a brutal whoomph, the beast man was slammed against the floor. His face was flattened, and broken ribs protruded from his chest. Yet when the block of stone was brought down again without a moment's hesitation, it sank into the floor, the werewolf beneath it having leapt clear with a skill that seemed unbelievable even for one of its kind. Bright blood fell from the snarling maw. Undeniable lunacy filled his eyes. The way he'd just attacked seemed to be completely lacking in common sense. He seemed to be snapping at people, entirely at random. And that was precisely the case. Laika had gone mad. Earlier, Xenogortian's blood beads had scattered virulent poison right before his snout. It had besieged not his immortal flesh, but his brain. Now he was no more than an insane wild beast that would attack any living creature it saw, and wouldn't be satisfied until it had ripped everyone to shreds. With a howl, Laika pounced on the man. His wide-open mouth caught the man's head, tearing it off on the first attempt. Giving the head one good shake, the beast spatted into the air. The man extended his hand and grabbed it. The head was pressed right back onto the wound. At the same time, the werewolf reeled backward. When Laika had touched down from his leap, a dagger had pierced his chest. As I thought, you are no better than a beast. Do you think the nobility mere prey? Due perhaps to the severity of her wound, Countess Genevieve murmured the words in a low, hoarse voice, as she stood there covering her blood-stained lips. As the werewolf fell, he tried to extract the dagger, but as his hands had become a wolf's paws, he wasn't able to seize the weapon by the grip. Looking over at the man, the Countess tilted her head to one side. Only a faint red line remained where the wounds had been aligned. Slowly, the chains in both his hands began to spin, slightly bowing her upper body. The Countess struck a free-form defensive stance. "What's this?" she exclaimed, her body convulsing. "Persistent beast, isn't he?" The man let the stone blocks fly with both hands, skillfully evading them. The Countess moved in a certain direction, the side of her lightly slipping between the chains and their blocks of stone as they whistled through the air with pure artistry. And at a certain spot she halted. Overhead, a block of stone forced down on her. That was what the Countess had been waiting for. Directly below the block of stone was the head of Laika, the werewolf. His head caught several tons of pressure in an instant, and both it and his brains became one with the floor. Spinning herself around in the same direction Pick had fled, the Countess said, "I shall see you again later," and smiled at the giant ready to pursue her, before dashing off with the wind swirling in her wake. When the Countess reached the doorway, Pick appeared from the shadows and said, "Ma'am? What are you doing? I believe I told you to flee." "What of the young lady?" "She's got Dee's left hand to protect her. That's safer than being with me. And you? Why are you still here?" Pick made a doleful expression. "You came back, is that it? You foolish lad," the Countess said with a sigh, but the boy gave her a stiff smile. "I couldn't help it. It's what any man would do. You truly are foolish, aren't you, you humans?" Her lovely voice flowed forward. As Pick hastened forward to support her falling body, something glittered right by his nose. There was a dagger stuck in the Countess's back. What? What's this?" the boy sputtered. "Could you pull it out?" "It's too late to save me, but it would be slightly less painful." "Who did this to you?" "The hairy one. He was a werewolf. As he couldn't extract it with his hands, he gripped it with his mouth. He must have hurled it in the same manner." Though Pick didn't really comprehend everything the Countess was saying, it was clear enough that her wound would be fatal. "What should I do?" asked the boy. "Is there some medicine somewhere?" "No, there isn't." The tip of the blade reached my heart. "I shall last a bit longer. but even you must understand that I'm finished. Do you not?" The boy had no reply for that. "The reason I fled was because I thought to help you both escape before I am no more. Come, I shall lead you to Dee's location. Do you know where he is?" "Essentially. You see, Dee gives off an air quite similar to that of the failure just now. I believe I can locate him. But you're hurt real bad. If I do nothing, the outcome will remain the same." "Okay," Pick said with a huge nod, gazing at the Countess. His eyes gleamed with deep emotion. It wasn't the sort of look humans gave nobility. "Okay, let's hustle back to the other two then." As the Countess was about to start walking, the boy offered her his shoulder to lean on. Looking intently at the little man, the Countess thanked him. However, when they raced back to where Annette and the left hand waited, they found neither of them there, only an expensive floor splattered with fresh blood. "But I told him to wait here. What's with this blood?" Even the boy's tone was dazed, and from it the Countess could sense his impatience. Wiping up some blood off the tip of her index finger, she licked it. She then closed her eyes, but quickly said, "This aura, it's the Grand Duke's." "What, him? How do you know you look here?" "He designed this train. Do you not think you can tell at a glance where everyone is?" "Oh, I get it. Then the left hand was most likely defeated. This is its blood. For the moment, be at ease." "Oh my," Pick said, and he began to recite a prayer for the dead his mother had taught him. Then, in a voice firm with resolve, he asked, "Where is she?" The boy had thought himself ready, but this required a whole new level of determination. "The laboratory. Corso tongues call it an operating room, though I believe that too is accurate." The two of them set off on foot. After 5 minutes advancing down a corridor that seemed like an opulent hotel lobby, Pick halted. About 20 to 25 feet up ahead, he'd seen a lovely female head poke around the corner. Though the boy had instinctively pressed himself flat against the wall, the woman had quickly ducked back around the corner. "You see that?" Pick asked. The Countess nodded. "Stay here. I'm gonna go check it out." "Don't," Genevieve said, but her words met only the boy's back. With stealthy footfalls he sprinted to the corner, peeked around it, and there was a man standing right in front of him. Over 6.5 feet tall and with a powerful chest, his very presence overwhelmed the boy. "What the hell?" Pick blurted out in spite of himself. The face attached to that muscular frame was that of the lovely woman he'd glimpsed a moment ago. "Who are you?" The beauty's red lips asked in a youthful, masculine voice. "What are you doing here? I'd heard that Grand Duke Drago owned this train. Is he still alive? How about you? Who the hell are you?" Pick inquired even as he backed away. "Me?" The beautiful face donned a smirk. Pick could have kicked himself for not noticing quicker. Never had he seen such an evil grin. This sissy face was rotting to the core. "I'm Barry Dawn. I used to be a hunter, but now I've received a kiss from Lord Gillian and serve him. Kid, why did the train start up? Who in blazes is on it?" "Well, the Grand Duke started it up. Don't know quite where, but he's on it somewhere. But all that aside, you called yourself a hunter and now you serve Lord Gillian. Put the bite on you, did he? That's about the size of it." The lovely feminine face grinned. Seeing those lips, Pick knew what fate had in store for him. Any others beside you? Yeah, Barry Dawn replied. 3 more. And all of us regret our past. Because we used to be so insanely dedicated to destroying something as wonderful as the nobility. Pick made a gagging sound as despair filled his heart. Friend or foe, everyone around him was a lousy vampire. By the way, kid, did you know you've got real nice color? Barry Dawn said, his eyes beginning to blaze with red. Truth be told, ever since I got like this, an endless hunger's been gnawing at me. Give me some of that blood of yours. Chapter 10, End.